Hello, I'm Deb Knight. Welcome to this special edition of A Current Affair. He was charismatic with the gift of the gab. He charmed families using his biblical teachings, luring disciples from all around the world, including Australia, to his Waco compound. Vernon Howell, who we know as David Koresh, was the evil cult leader responsible for the deaths of 86 men, women and children 30 years ago this month. A Current Affairs' Martin King was the only journalist to interview Koresh and to be invited inside his Texas compound. Marty joins me now from Melbourne. Marty, this was an extraordinary interview, a world exclusive at the time, and it really is chilling to look back 30 years on.
Deb, it certainly sends chills up my spine even now. We had been contacted by Australians who'd escaped the cult and left relatives behind. They were worried about what was going to happen, so we asked Vernon Howell, better known as David Koresh, if we could pay him a visit. Frankly, I was surprised when he said yes, and shocked at what happened when I came face to face with a madman.
He said he was the leader of God's Marines.
They come in here with a gun and they start shooting at us. What would you do? Tell me, be realistic. This is America. This is not Australia. This is not Europe.
And he led his loyal disciples into a hell on earth. Vernon Howell has proved to the world that in his cult there's a very fine line between divinity and death.
Bloodshed, inquisition, death, murder, killing.
Especially when a madman is calling the shots.
Get that camera out of here! Get out of here! I need help! I need help!
In Texas, religion is a way of life. This is the Bible Belt of America.
We see fire, then we'll see fire. Let us get that man out, and then we'll pull back.
4 officers were killed in the battle. At least 1 member of the sect was shot dead.
He says that he did not fulfill his promise to leave immediately with his followers because God told him to wait.
We came to Waco, Texas because former followers of Vernon Howell, who also likes to be known as David Koresh, had made shocking allegations and even more terrifying predictions about this man who claimed to be the Messiah.
He has more of a Charles Manson mentality, you know, and I do see him as eventually becoming very violent if he's pushed in a corner.
I believe that they will kill for Vernon, and that is what he is. He is winding people up to that stage.
We came because the tentacles of the Branch Davidian cult had reached right across the Pacific and poisoned the lives of Australian men, women and children. And we came to do something that no one else has ever been able to achieve, to confront this self-professed Son of God face to face.
What about these people here?
Well, those people here are
you?
people, well, you know what they think of me? They think I'm the Son of God.
They'd come from all over America, all over the world, drawn by one man and his message.
I mean nothing to myself. I want to know what truth is, and I'm searching for it. If he happens to be the vehicle that shows me, I thank God for it.
Somebody here is reading the Bible and teaching me about it, which out there at all the places I've been to and I've been around, I have not found anybody that knew anything about the Bible.
Right from the outset, it was obvious that something sinister was underway. Vernon had ordered the demolition of all the old cottages at the compound. As they came down, the walls of his fortress grew. Finally, I got an audience with the man with the fatal charm.
I failed school. I quit in 9th grade because I had other things I had to do.
Like what?
I had to learn some things. I'm a student. You see?
What did you learn?
I learned about people. That's what I do. I learn about people. I learn about myself.
What about these people here? What,
Those people
what do they
here
think
are
of you?
people. Well, you know what they think of me? They think I'm the Son of God.
Do they?
Yeah.
I think he's great.
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 16.
What would I do for him? I love him as a brother.
Is he the Son of God?
I hope he is.
Revelation states that Christ has the key of David. Only he can open and none can shut. There's 150 Psalms here. Some people find it amazing that I know every one of them.
Vernon Howell, 33 years old, the same age as Christ, when he died on the cross.
Oh, this time, when Christ reveals himself, it's going to be according to the book. Because there's some statements in there that might make you a little bit happy.
Howell drifted into Mount Carmel in 1981 after being kicked out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
There's a madman living in Waco. He's bowing his knee to bear.
In the early days, Howell worked in the kitchen for his room and board. But it wasn't long before he claimed divine inspiration, his launching pad for taking over the cult.
Woe to the what? Wicked city who obeyed not the what? She received not what? She drew not near to who? God.
Several times a day, these people downed tools and underwent some mental hammering from Howell, hours of what he called religious instruction, but psychiatrists say was really brainwashing.
Wait on me to the day that I rise up to the... Pray. We're hunting for my determinations to what? That I may pour upon them my fierce indignation.
His followers are mostly young, aged in their 20s and 30s and from middle-class homes. They're united by a search for meaning in their lives.
I'll go to the discotheque. You'll find me in L.A. County. You'll find me in the pubs. It's where most of these people were found. There's ex-drug addicts here. No, it wasn't the welfare that got them off of it. It wasn't the Christian philosophies. It was some facts. You know, you got to sometimes take people and let them throw up on you. Jamie, what was the song that y'all used to do in the heavy metal band? Go ahead, hit it. On your face. Now it's time to worship God.
It's time to worship God on your face.
But if it's not hours of scripture, Vernon gets out his guitar and blasts his followers with a dose of doomsday rock and roll.
Riding on white horses, fear in the night.
The lyrics are about death and destruction, a surrounding army intent on destroying the cult. It was all so eerily prophetic.
See the armies sitting around the camps. You wonder who they are. See the armies sitting around the camps. Do you wonder who they are? Save me.
Enjoying the music was Steve Schneider, Howell's right-hand man, the man who took on the role of negotiator during talks with the FBI.
We want to give him and his followers our assurance that he and everyone inside will be treated fairly and humanely if they come out.
He pushed the right buttons with each and every one of us. Each person has got their own button, their own Achilles heel. And he was able to turn that light on.
Why did he come to Australia?
To recruit people to add to the numbers that he had already had.
Bruce and Lisa became followers of Vernon Howell, and so did their twins, Peter and Nicole.
She was 19. She came down from Queensland to Melbourne right at the wrong time. Vernon was here.
He was all muscly, he'd done bodybuilding, he was wearing a T-shirt with cut-off sleeves.
He was there to influence Nicole, and he admitted that too. He was there to talk Nicole around to come back to the States. And he turned Peter's head around completely. And he pushed all the right buttons with Peter, and Peter said, yeah, man, I can see that. And he was away, Peter. There was no stopping Peter.
It was a situation that was to have tragic consequences for the family. Soon, the gents were living with the cult at a property in Palestine, Texas. Conditions were primitive. Home was an old converted bus or a tent.
He basically influenced me to make the decision, well, I'll go because I wanted to do God's work for a change rather than, do my own thing.
But it wasn't long before they discovered they'd made a terrible mistake.
Why do the heathen rage? What's their problem?
It's brainwashing. And why I'm saying it's brainwashing is because it's nothing to sit in on studies of 8, 10, 12, 15-hour studies.
Do you teach them?
I show them.
Or do you brainwash them?
Doesn't Christ brainwash you, gets rid of the filth, and puts in the good?
Disillusioned, Bruce and Lisa returned to Australia in 1990, but their twins, Peter and Nicole, insisted on staying.
Nicole said, as far as she was concerned, she now did not have any family anymore and no mother and father.
Of course, by this stage, Nicole was pregnant to the man who said he was Christ.
He selects whoever he wants to go to bed with, and I know that Nicole is quite a favourite of his, or was, and all the women compete to be the best.
Your daughter has been sleeping with Vernon, has had his baby. How does that affect you?
Well, having his baby at that time we all thought that was the right thing to do because he was saying, we have to have babies to the Lord.
People say you've been sleeping with the women here. Is that true?
No, only one. And she's tired of it. Now, she's tired of the accusations.
Vernon, or David Koresh as he prefers to be called, claims to have one wife, Rachel, who was 14 when he married her.
One wife.
Have you
have I committed adultery? Is what you're fixing to ask?
Have you committed adultery?
No, I don't commit adultery.
You telling me the truth?
I'm telling you the truth. I'm after truth, and that's all I offer.
Everybody's got a bit of bullshit in them.
Well, I sometimes have to use those means, but that's also written in the book, too. I'd like to show you.
Vernon's message to his followers was simple. He'd die in a violent battle against unbelievers, and all those who died with him would join him in heaven. Together, they'd rule the world.
People would kill me.
Who?
Fanatics, people that revolve around tradition, that are not going to have their mind unsettled in regards to what they believe or how they feel.
Are you going to fight back?
Am I going to fight back? It's funny that Christ on the cross, they said he laid down there, and he just took it. But Psalms 22 doesn't say that.
Well, I believe that they will kill for Vernon. And that is what he is. He's winding people up to that stage.
When Bruce Gent made this prediction more than a year ago, nobody took any notice. In fact, a lot of people wrote him off as just another religious crank. Bruce Gent is anything but that. And he was in the perfect position to know about the extent of Vernon Howell's bloody ambitions.
Vernon put me in charge of security. I know that they're carrying sidearms now, 22s, 23s, I think. Anyhow, it's a fairly heavy calibre gun. There was quite a few of those. Handguns, police, riot shotguns, probably about 20, 30 guns in all.
Well, what happened to all the guns? Where are they now?
Oh, some of the guns are sold.
You have guns?
Yeah, we have some.
Would you use a gun if somebody came in here? If somebody trespassed?
People trespass all the time. We used a gun? No, we don't. We don't. They come in here with a gun and they start shooting at us. What would you do? Tell me. Be realistic. This is America. This is not Australia. This is not Europe.
As the world witnessed, this cult leader was as good as his word. But the real tragedy of Mount Carmel is this: it need never have happened.
We've been trying for 2.5 years to get the authorities to do something about this, and it's just hard to explain. It's the frustration of it all. We partly conditioned to 2.5 years of extreme frustration.
Former cult members say they warned no less than 5 American authorities from Waco to Washington of the impending disaster at Mount Carmel. The Australian Foreign Affairs Department was also informed. But at the end of the day, no one lifted a finger to defuse Vernon's time bomb.
FBI authorities say the situation is taking a turn for the worse, with Koresh sounding more irritable.
We have our beliefs that there are people who would willingly walk out if they were allowed to do so.
We've just travelled from Australia.
I understand.
And we're to a stage where I don't know whether I've got 2 children or not, whether they've been killed or... Can you enlighten me at all there?
Sir, we do have information from the children that we've already gotten out and the 2 elderly ladies that have been removed that there are casualties inside. Some people are dead. We do not know any names.
For the sake of the children, our song Madmen in Waco, right? This is for the little children, right? God knows how it should be. Stars and stripes are flying, give us justice and liberty for the children's sake. You know, you might have to bear a gun one day.
We're within a few miles of our kids. We might as well stayed in Melbourne, I think.
Even worse for the gents was the knowledge that this would-be Christ was using the children of Mount Carmel, including their own grandchildren, as human shields against the military might of the US government.
He has made such statements as, "We are ready for war."
After a week in Waco and no news, the bitterly disappointed gents returned to Australia. But there was a terrible irony. The whole time they were in Texas, their son Peter was dead. He was one of the first to die in the bloody shootout.
When we got the information, it was like a sledgehammer.
And Bruce started falling apart. And then I took the phone. And then I started falling apart.
But worse was to come. The FBI had had enough.
The FBI continued broadcasting messages over the loudspeaker system for people to exit the building toward the sound of the speakers to be rescued.
At 6 o'clock, the tanks rolled in, pumping tear gas. Six hours later, the cult self-destructed after fanatical members torched the fortress.
We did not introduce fire to this compound. It was not our intention that this compound be burned down. I can't tell you the shock and the horror that all of us felt when we saw those flames coming out there. It was, oh my God, they're killing themselves.
Why the FBI decided to up the stakes on day 51 of this standoff seems vague. But one thing is certain. Once it began, it could only end one way.
Obviously, if I thought the chances were great of a mass suicide, I would never have approved the plan. Everything that we were told, every indication of the reactions to the pressure up to that point was that that would not occur.